My name is Austin Vondercheck. I'm the lead pastor over here in Jenison, Michigan at Rosewood Church, and I've been here for 3.5 years. Well, the circumstances for applying for the grant was obviously a ton of student loan debt. I didn't go to college expecting to eventually end up in ministry. I didn't even go to seminary expecting to end up in ministry. And it doesn't matter how much it costs, because someday you'll have a career that'll make up for it. And I guess the exception to the rule might be ministry. However, this grant, I really believe, is one of the ways that God is helping me fulfill my call. It's hard when your student debt is twice as much as your mortgage. That's hard. And some days we are budgeted down to the dollar. And for years that worked. But now, especially in the last year with inflation, like we aren't making ends meet. We are having to siphon off of savings very slowly in order to just pay the bills, have food, and care for our kids. But what this grant has done for us is helped us to eliminate federal student loans that will not be forgiven as a part of the student forgiveness plan, which it literally freed up for us hundreds of dollars a month, which is going to help us right-side our budget. It's going to help us be able to put a little bit of savings away. It's also going to help us to be able to save for our kids for their college, so if they choose to do this, they're not going to have to shoulder the same kind of burden that my wife and I have had to experience. One of my greatest flaws is that I'm a bit of a fatalist, and sometimes I think that any mistake I make is going to end up in the worst case scenario. And so for working in a church, I think, boy, if I make the wrong decision, if something goes sideways or it just doesn't pan out like we thought it would, I'm gonna get fired. Every day I think I'm gonna get fired. I'm not. My church is not threatening me, but that's where my brain goes, is that everything's going to end up the worst case scenario if it doesn't go exactly right. And so naturally, I bring this stress into my job, and this financial stress into my job. Because in the back of my mind, I think, don't take a risk. Because if you take a risk, you risk failing. And if you fail, then everything's going to fall apart. We are right on that edge. And so knowing that we don't have the kind of financial burden anymore thanks to this grant helps me to actually be more courageous in my job, to fear less, to fear less of what someone might think, to fear upsetting or the status quo for the sake of reaching people that we've never met by doing things that we've never done before. I would love to see the word get out there to more pastors that this is an option for them. This is a line of help and support, because a lot of times financial stress is really lonely. You're not supposed to really talk about it. Sometimes people don't know how to talk about it with you, and so you kind of feel yourself kind of doubly suffering because you just can't process it with anyone. And I would love to see this grow, to be able to help and support more and more pastors who experience this burden, as more and more pastors are experiencing a greater and greater burden because of student loan debt.